Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Call to order the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. Let's start out with a moment of silence. Mr. Root, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Dearest Father, I just again thank you for this day you've given us, and hopefully we've taken it in appreciation and rejoiced in it and been glad in it as a gift that you've given us, and we've made the most of it. Help us to do so in this meeting. Just without a plan, people perish without a vision. So I pray that you give this committee that insight, that wisdom to cast that vision, to give guidance, and that staff can come alongside and help, and that this would be your meeting. And in your name I pray, amen.
Mr. Hart, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from April 1st, 2025.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I went back and looked at our minutes and actually looked at the date, and I counted, there's been 141 days or 39% of a year. And during that time, in the minutes, you brought up the address of housing, only 3 housing on the drive, and I came in and said, yeah, I thought that needed to be revived. Also, I brought up about the county and the state right-of-ways and what the county is claiming for a setback. I think that needs to be reduced. There's another thing about subdivisions. If you have, let's say you got one parcel and you end up cutting 2 lots out of it, you have created a subdivision, you got 3 parcels there. Well, in my case, I've got 6 grandchildren. If I subdivide and give each one of them 1 lot, I'm gonna have a subdivision with 6 lots in it, and then I'm gonna have the controversy of it being a family transfer. And if the county looks at it and rules on it, they're gonna rule that it wasn't a family transfer, it was a subdivision. So I think that needs to be cleaned up. Anyway, during that time, when we were discussing this, Mr. Root was gonna check with the Planning Commission and see what went on with this. Well, I hadn't heard anything about this. I don't know what they have decided on it, but I think we do make a decision, especially on the 3 addresses per lot. I have a person in my area, Mr. James, I know you have one that has a trailer park, and they can't add any trailers to it now. And my person has 3 acres, and he has a drive in there, and now he can't use the back 3 acres because of the restriction on 3 addresses to a drive. So I think we need to go into that. Like I say, that's something that we started 41 days ago, and I think we need to know something, because the gentleman that I'm speaking with in my section is ready to put some more trailers in there, and he ain't nothing he can do. He's just at a standstill, and every time I see him, he asks me about it. Thank you.
So can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on for discussion items, the items for discussion regarding tourism in Oconee County, and wanted to get some answers and some info from staff on things just like the basics of our spending, how much taxpayer money is being spent on tourism each year on advertising. And, I mean, how does that compare to the last 3 years? I assume it's going up, do we? You know, whether it's going up or down. Where we're advertising, what specific markets? Are we advertising inside Oconee County? Are we advertising statewide or even outside the state? Who decides what markets and on what basis do we choose the markets that we're advertising in? What are we advertising? Lakes, trails, events, the county as a whole, you know, what are we targeting with that advertising? And some examples of maybe some of the current ads, what are, you know, whether it's digital, print, TV, billboards, or what magazines, you know, those type of things. And do we have any idea on the effectiveness or return in investment, you know, what the hard numbers are, what we're showing as far as an ROI on any of this stuff? And can we connect that with hard data to increases in the tax revenue from hotels, motels, you know, directly from that spending, those type things. I mean, we have a ton of people coming to Oconee County, so I just think it would be good to know who we're targeting and what, you know, what our goals are with that, and, you know, how that's matching up with the ads and stuff that we're doing.
One thing I'd add to that, Mr. Chairman, was, and Ms. Brock, you may know the answer to this right away. Do we ever solicit surveys for any of this advertisement of Oconee County? Is there any method to do that? So that, you know, if we could come up with some sort of survey, it may answer some of those questions.
Mr. Mize, thank you. That's a very valuable question. I'm going to keep looking back over my shoulder at Phil. He's going to be my after the fact checker for me.
Okay.
I am answering your question off the cuff, so please don't take this as a Holy Bible answer, but rather a Holy Gospel answer that we learned in church. What we're going to be studying for a survey would be anything online for SurveyMonkey or anything like that. We have the option to do that, to my knowledge. I'm looking back now. We never have a localized survey.
Not typically localized, can you already hear me? Not typically localized surveys, but we do have the ability on the digital side to track where they're from, get that information, how they heard about us. And I do have answers to all those questions. If we want to, you know, set up a time to do that and kind of talk through how we strategize, how we market.
Okay.
I can go off the cuff today, or I can pull together some really specific data and we can get back together, whatever you want to do.
Well, I mean, specific data would be good, but probably just get a little, I mean, we can take some off-the-cuff stuff too, if there's anything that you know, that's
Let's just break the ice today with it, and then you can later bring back some specifics.
yeah.
Can I?
Absolutely.
okay.
This is Mr. Phil Shirley, PRT Director.
Truly off the cuff, but that's okay.
I made some quick notes. Tourism statistics, 3-year comparison.
Yep.
off the cuff.
So I think your first question was about how much tax dollars are we spending on tourism. Right now, as of this year, we are spending 0 general fund dollars on tourism. All of that is coming from the accommodations tax collections, both from the state and the local side. We are dictated by a statute that tells us what percentage of that has to go towards tourism and what we can do from an operational standpoint. We have been very selective here in Oconee, and we are reinvesting as much of that as possible back into our infrastructure, the things that make us special. As a native, I love the place that we live, work, and play. And, you know, the value of our visitor, to me, is not as much as how much they spend, but how much we reinvest back so that you and I, the taxpayer, gets to enjoy all the special places here in Oconee. From a advertising standpoint, we do have a marketing plan every year that we have to put together. That is very strategic. We have a marketing committee through our Visit Oconee board The Visit Oconee Board is made up of Jamie Gilbert's on it. Ms. Brock was put on it as of today, moving forward, so she'll have a seat at our table as well. We have stakeholders from the industry that are there, and we look at across the platform, we have broken down and really know who our visitor profile is. You know, we kind of know the segments of the travel industry across Oconee County. When you look at the different layers of that, the biggest traveler here is somehow connected to the university. That's our biggest traveler, whether it's athletics, whether it's the university itself, whether it's business related. The second is business travel, and that's not in the sense of a briefcase, not all the time, but outages, small businesses related to manufacturing, our contract workers that are in our hotels all week long. That's a huge part of our travel market that comes into Oconee County. You got to get past those layers before you even get to what we call our leisure traveler. But we know that segment, and we've been able to utilize some software over the years that kind of breaks down who our best visitor is, where they're from. Believe it or not, it's an in-state visitor. It's a coastal person that switches places with us. We like to go to the beach, you know, whenever we vacation. Well, they like to come to the mountains. So our most profitable visitor, the person that spends the most money here, is a coastal visitor around Charleston, north of that area, that comes up and spends a lot of time in our area vacationing. So we know that data, and we try to put together our marketing plan based on those ideas and those profiles that we build. We look at where we put printed ads. We specifically look at how do we get leads off of those ads. So some advertisements, we can either put a specific URL on, and we know exactly how many people click on that URL if it's digital, that comes over to our website. We also are able to put a URL on it that tells us how many leads we get. And I'll use an example. I can count on one hand how many printed ads we do. A lot of things have gone to digital these days. But we do an ad in the State Visitor's Guide. We do an ad in the Upcountry Visitor's Guide. We do some advertising with AAA because we have a lot of folks that are moving in and around the area. And then the other two categories we do, we usually pick a magazine that's popular. So we have had a Southern Living magazine in the past. We're also looking at a Garden and Gun type magazine in the future, something that relates to the profile of that visitor that we talked about earlier. We will look at the data off of that print or off of that digital media, and if it doesn't work and we don't get any leads off of that, we won't do it again. We may give it a year, we may give it 2 years. But anything that comes in and we're getting click-throughs, we're seeing where people are seeing something and clicking over to our website. Our biggest thing with tourism here is we want to connect the visitor to the businesses that are offering the service. So on our website, we can look through our website and we can see if you're coming into our website, was it organic? Did you just go online and type in mountains, waterfalls, or one of our search engine words that we've built up? And we spend some money on that on the digital side. Or did you get through us for one of our advertising partners? You know, did you go through the state guide to get to us, or through a Southern Living guide to get to us? And we can kind of see that, and then we can see where you're going. You know, are you going to the rentals? Are you going to hotels? Are you going to the waterfall pages or the trails? So we can kind of see where that happens, and we make a lot of our decisions based off that data. I can tell you that the decisions we make, if they don't work, we change them up. But we have just restructured Visit Oconee, as y'all know, and so we have recently brought in an operations person that will help us on the ground. You know, she has a great background in marketing as well, coming from the rafting world, and so I look forward to the next little bit and kind of how we tie those things together. I will tell you from a 3-year comparison, everything that we spend on advertising is market-based. So we are spending the absolute minimum that we have to spend on advertising and marketing. That is a very true statement. When you look at the money that comes through the state accommodations tax back to Oconee County, it's broken out by percentages. 30% of that, by state statute, says it has to go to advertising and promotion. That has grown from 140,000 to 155. This year it's 165, but it's market-based. And we get a check every quarter. That check comes to the county. The county has to turn that check over, and it goes over to Visit Oconee. when you're in a county or a municipality that collects more than $50,000 in a year, the statute says that you have to have an ongoing tourism board or commission that helps you spend those dollars. So Visit Oconee suffices that piece of the puzzle from the statute standpoint. We also do that for the funds that come from City of Seneca. So City of Seneca is big enough to where they collect more than 50 a year. So 30% of their dollars also comes to Visit Oconee and partners up together for the branding campaign or marketing campaign. We are as creative as we can with those dollars. The visitor center that we have on Main Street, that is operated by those dollars. The staff that we pay is by those dollars. And then, of course, our print and digital campaigns and our website. Those are our top things that we do with those advertising dollars. And I can break down our marketing plan. I can kind of show you why we make the decisions we make. But a lot of that's kind of done around a boardroom, and it's over many hours of strategically looking. And then our partners, we have some partners that, on the digital side, we have some software very similar to our market-based software with short-term rentals. That also helps us identify and profile our visitors and who they are and where they're coming from. That's a lot of information off the cuff, I'm sorry.
I got a question. What are we doing for these rec departments? I know that we've got our bought property at Shaw Ram, another 100 acres. Has anything been done to that to where we're increasing our volume to where we can have more people in there? I know at High Falls, Duke Power offered us property there, and it's talking about building another campground over on the point. Has anything been done about that?
At Shaw Ram, we are in need of a master plan. We have not been able to put dollars towards that master plan or have the people on the ground to do that work as of yet. It's on my short-range list. I haven't got to it. At High Falls, that was an offer to us, but until there's funds available there to do any resource building, that's not something we're ready to take from Duke Energy. When there's some funds available there to put together a plan of what that looks like and be able to do a build-out, then I think that's the point in time that we'll be able to pull the trigger on that.
I thought Duke Power offered some money on that.
No, sir, I have not offered any money as of now that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Mr. Hart, I believe Duke Power offered to pay for the master.
So
plan.
Duke Power did pay for the master plan back in 2017 when we originally had those conversations. Of course, the pandemic hit and it kind of went awry. We have had conversation with them that when we go through this next recreational management plan with them, that we may be able to communicate and talk about expansion of recreational facilities and what Duke would have to do to suffice their FERC requirements and offer recreation throughout the land. They have to do a management plan in order before they can put some money to that. So they can't just say, hey, we're going to support you and give you dollars. They'll do a year-long study of that property and they'll say, okay, are we lacking in recreational space or lodging space to serve the people that are trying to access the lake? And if that answer is yes, then that's a conversation we can have about how much can you help invest towards that project. And we're actively involved in that process, but we are not there yet.
Mr. James, I made some pretty quick and sloppy notes.
I was gonna say, what did I miss?
Well, hey, real nice, I'm gonna follow up with something. I think it's important for us, just off the cuff, if you don't mind, I don't mean to put you on center stage here, is some examples of what the advertising looks like. I know you brought up the example of the paying the rent for a visitor center there on Main Street. What are some of the other ways in which we advertise that are more creative rather than just like an in-your-face advertising?
Yeah, typically, we know we are an outdoor adventure location. So we will focus on the outdoors. We will also try and throw some corn, if you will, out for the rainy day stuff. Whether it's museums, whether it's things to do inside, performing arts center, venues, things like that. We try to partner with our restaurants, folks that are local restaurants, because we are about to bring back the Think Oconee campaign. Because we want it to be important for you to buy local and to think local in the things that you do. So we will work on outdoor adventure, whether that's hiking or whether that's out on the lakes. And you'll see our strategic plan has pointed us very strategically and purposely towards sustaining the very things that make us special. we don't want to become this big mecca tourism industry, at least I don't. I want to keep the things that make us special, special. So, you'll see us do things like boater safety, life jacket safety out on the trails, solo hiking safety. We do also promote things about our outdoor adventure and our trails, but we do not spend any dollars during the summer. We're busy. We're full in the summer. We are turning people away in the summer. So we have strategically not spent advertising dollars from typically end of April to end of September. And our marketing plan is really based on after Labor Day back around to Memorial Day. And that's very strategic on our part because it's no fun being the person on site turning people away from these recreation areas that are full. And that's very common this time of year. So we have stopped spending dollars there on that piece. If there are things that you would like to see, I certainly would love to hear them. Because we are actively doing our marketing plan right now for this coming year.
I just wondered, did we spend any money on I know several years back, but like in Seneca when they had the World Series there and stuff like that for, youth type
And we
ball
actually-
tournaments and stuff. I don't know if that's something that can be used for, if it has been in the past or.
Part of those dollars can also be towards sponsorships for those events.
Okay.
One of our staff members is a salesperson. They're directly related to all the fishing tournaments, all the Dixie Youth tournaments. We've had conversations. Westminster's building a new complex. How can we help you fill that complex throughout the year? Those are things that are actively happening behind the scenes to figure out how do we put those dollars in there to get more of those people and more of those folks in hand.
I got a suggestion, of course, I don't know what the name of it is, but Oconee County Waterfalls and Trails. They have that book at the Welcome Centers. We need one person to drive to a couple of joining state, welcome centers and put some of those out so that they can be seen. I mean, it is an excellent magazine.
Thank you. Our staff puts that together with a local partner, and the new one is actually rolling out this week, so you're going to see it. It's got a fall color of Wigington Highway on it, on the cover. But we deliver to every welcome center inside the state of South Carolina, and we have strategic partners outside the state that we also get that to. We go through 50,000 copies of those twice a year.
Any other questions?
I got one question that's just really, I'm just curious, is, does it fall in your wheelhouse or does it fall in, Duke Energy's wheelhouse? You see a lot of word on people complaining about these wake boats on the lake. And who will be responsible for the remediation of the shoreline? That's being
Anything
damaged.
that we own and manage, it's our responsibility.
Okay.
And you're seeing some of that come through in front of you. We just did a big section at High Falls and South Cove. We have our site visit with Duke coming up at the end of October. There's 3 sections on the campground of South Cove that we've lost linear feet of recently. We're gonna have to sustain that. If we sustain it with rock, we're cutting off our campers from being able to get to the lake. So part of the puzzle with that was getting Duke Energy and FERC to agree to let us put some docks around the campground so that we could then maybe charge a little bit more if you want to bring a boat and park it. Those are costly, and we have done, in my opinion, a tremendous job taking our tourism dollars and reinvesting it in our infrastructure. And we have probably the next 4 years built out. And once we get, it's gonna take us that much money to get that money in to be able to knock some of those things off. But in the end of the day, we're responsible for the shoreline that we manage, but we're not responsible for the islands, we're not responsible for personal banks. But we're losing it pretty quick. And I know DNR and our law enforcement are doing as much as they can when they're out there.
Right.
We have constant conversations with them.
Has there been any talk about possibly any legislation on these wake boats?
I don't have an answer for that. That's probably a question for our delegation
Okay.
about it. They increased the amount of space that you have to be away from a dock. I have a personal opinion about that. That just means the wave's got to move 50 more feet, but, before it gets to you. But I think there's opportunity for that discussion on ways to do that, and you probably have, I like people to have fun like the rest of us. But when there's an impact to the shoreline, we got to find a place in the middle that we can both be happy.
Anything else?
Anything else on the list that I missed?
Let me check my list. I can't read the rest of it because Mr. James sped up there toward the end. The one thing I do want to mention though is with ATAX dollars, we do pay for all electricity at all 3 county parks, all seasonal staff at all 3 county parks, and maintenance on.
All the
buildings
maintenance for the
and
county
correct,
parks.
that's
Yep.
right. So we're offsetting the cost to tax dollars, real estate tax dollars, with ATAX funds for the operations of our parks.
That's where the value of the visitor really helps you and I, the taxpayer. For
I
sure.
got a question since you mentioned that. The Apple Festival, Seneca Fest, any other thing that's in here, is that coming out of this APAC money?
Every bit of it's out of ATAX
Okay.
money. Not a single thing comes out of general fund.
Okay.
There's a correction to that statement. The luncheon tickets come from general fund.
Oh, the luncheon tickets for the Apple Festival lunch. Actually, Visit Oconee bought ours, so ours didn't. It came out of ATAX dollars.
I'll call Phil next year.
That's right.
I've already committed for this year.
Anybody else?
Good.
Ms. Brock, you have any more comments, anything else?
Mr. James, I appreciate that. It's interesting in a lot of ways, because when I first came to work at the county, we didn't have any tourism, we didn't have any tax dollars, so to see how much it has impacted. And I'd love at some point, while Phil's working on his hard data, I think it would be interesting for all of you to see what it used to look like before we had that money coming in. I don't think we had the same number of visitors, and we didn't have people complaining about the growth or the visitors coming. But the financial and capital impact that the ATAX dollars have had just in my short time here has been amazing. And I think that for all the things we have to use the money for, the advertising component, the rest of the use of the funds is a really wise use. Like, we can buy vehicles for the parks, pay all the seasonal park staff. And those are great for the general fund coffer not to have to pay for it.
Can I expand on that just a second? So going back to pre-pandemic days, we started our marketing compliance, our lodging compliance software. Our first collections was in the month of April 2019. When we first started collecting, we had 110 properties paying into the local accommodations tax. What this software did was it went out and was able to, it's a geofence software, so it's digital. And let's say my family has a second home that we rent out. I assure you we don't. But if we did, and I use any of the over 100 platforms that are out there, VRBO, HomeAway, Airbnb, they're everywhere. This tracking software sees that come through because it's inside our geofence. It takes a snapshot of that, it sends it to us, which triggers the software to then send them a very nice welcoming letter to Oconee County Lodging Community. And here's what you need to do to become compliant to submit your accommodations tax. In 2019, when we started, we had 110 properties paying. As of today, there's about 900 properties paying. We were collecting I'm going off a cuff, $315,000 a year in local accommodations. This is not the state, this is just our local 3% accommodations tax. Today, with those added short-term rentals, we're bringing in $1.1 million a year. All that is being flipped back around to offset all the things that she was talking about. And when you add our state dollars in there, which is where the advertising and the operation of the visitor center and the staffing, that covers all that and all the things you've been seeing in our parks. The overwhelming majority of that is accommodations tax money. We teamed that up with the Capital Projects Fund, that was PRT, which is $1 million a year. So we teamed that up, and a lot of times we use that to match grants. We're putting in 5 docks right now. We got a grant from Senator Alexander in the DNR fund. We're matching that with ATAX funds, and we'll put 5 brand-new docks on the water, not a single bit of general fund dollars. So it's the amount of money we've been able to do just by making sure people were compliant in how they pay has been a tremendous asset for us.
I got a suggestion. You said at Shaw Ram that you're waiting on I guess, a master plan for that 100 acres?
I just need some more hours in the day, Mr. Hartzell.
Well, you don't have to have any hours. What you need to do is go down to Clemson and go to the recreation people that are majoring and mastering in outdoors and ask them to draw up you a plan.
Yeah, and we've utilized them actually 3 times in my career here to do our tourism strategic planning. We have utilized them a lot. We do have a master plan that we built for High Falls. That same group, when we up that, I would like to do them both at one time, just because our staff will be all together. And it'll be a public process. We'll invite the public into certain places, help us decide what they want to see in future recreation, and that'll help us decide what the next steps are.
At one time, I don't remember the project, but we went to Clemson to the people getting masters and doctorate degrees and got them to do something for us. And I don't know what it was for the county. And we got some of those graduate students to work on that project. And that's the reason I was suggesting that to you.
We actually hire about 3 of them every summer with ATAX dollars, I might add.
All right, any other discussion on the tourism? Get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.